Alright, so hear me out. Marvel Rivals as a game is already based around multiversal kind of stuff. For example, this Captain America isn't even like the same type of Captain America that we see in the movies or most of the comics. This is Captain America from 2099, meaning out there is a variant of just regular Captain America. Also, another example of this is Venom. He already has Agent Venom in some of his skins. But what if you could just play as Agent Venom himself? Or from the thumbnail, what if you could just play as Miles Morales? So that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video today. What if Marvel Rivals had character variants? Now I'm going to be real, I got this idea from one of my concept videos in the comments. Full credit goes to Dixon because he had a great idea. And I've had similar thoughts, but he took it a step further. So credit goes to them. I'm just going to pretend like this is Miles Morales because I don't have the fucking PlayStation skin, and that would be the closest thing to Miles, bro. Or at least the closest thing to this concept skin I found. Shouts out to the artist. So the whole idea of this concept, whenever you're in the character selection screen and you hover over a character, it'll give you an option to choose one of their variants if you don't want to play regular Peter Parker. So you would tap a different button, pick a different variant like Miles or like Miguel O'Hara, and you would select that, and that would be the Spider-Man on your team. So you wouldn't be able to have two Spider-Man on the team, but you would have people playing either Peter Parker or a different Spider-Man of their choice on the other team. So you pick Miles Morales, he wouldn't just have the same abilities either. He would actually have slightly different moves, but I don't want to make them feel like much different. I don't want them to have like that much of a different play style or different strength. I kind of want them to feel like the same sort of balancedness, but Miles would still have different abilities than Peter because he's a different character. He's got different powers. The first thing I would change for Miles, he doesn't have this uppercut. Instead, he has something similar to the Thing where he has a charged punch and it would slightly knock enemies back. But wouldn't that be counterintuitive, dude? Let me cook, bro. Let me cook. The charge punch would be super similar to Black Widow. Once you do the charge punch, it would give you the option to grab an enemy back to you. It wouldn't do the stun though, it's just damage. And when you pull them back to you, then he will do the uppercut. That will be the difference. But the uppercut won't slap them upwards like Peter's does, it'll just be damage. Also, I forgot to mention he would need a web to actually initiate the grab, similar to this ability, which brings me to his next ability. Miles would not have the pull, so all you spider goons can't just fucking fly across the map at lightning speed, grab somebody and swing them off the map, at least with Miles. Instead, it'll be pretty similar. He'll just shoot his web at them and it'll stun them, but they won't be moved. It'll be a similar stun to Squirrel Girl where she just throws this at an enemy. Holy shit. Where she just throws this at an enemy and they sit still for a little bit, but they would obviously take a little bit more damage, probably the same amount of damage as this, because the idea behind it was he infuses his webs with his venom, his electricity, and it shocks them and stuns them. But here's the kicker. Just like how Peter's get over here is on the same cooldown as this, it would work the same way with his little grapple. So you could do the charge punch, but if that's on cooldown, if the grab is on cooldown, you just won't be able to grab them. Makes sense? I think it makes sense. Oh, and Miles's cooldowns would probably be the same as Peter's get over here cooldowns. He would have the same web swinging, the same movement. He wouldn't have his uppercut, so it would kind of throw off the movement a little bit. Well, he can still do this. He can still B-hop. That makes it worth it, right? No! To sum it all up, what he would have to do, shoot a web at them, do his punch, grab them again, and then the uppercut. That would be his sort of combo. Also, of course, he would keep the down smash. You can't have Spider-Man without the down smash. And another passive he would have, since he can turn invisible, I didn't want to make it too OP because an invisible assassin character is crazy, bro. So I was thinking it would be something similar to Sue Storm, to where his double jump would just activate his invisibility, and he would stay invisible for about 6 to 8 seconds. He would only be invisible until he like does an attack or like a web swing or he gets attacked, you know, stuff like that. And it would have a 12-second cooldown because I'm telling you, an invisible Spider-Man is too OP. Also, another nice change I would add to him, since Peter Parker can do double damage when he has a web tracer on somebody, the same thing would apply to Miles. I just thought it would be nice if it did like a little electric zap as a visual effect. And now time for the ultimate. He wouldn't just have the same ultimate as this, because I want these characters to have actual different ultimates. Otherwise, there would kind of be no point to actually switch to a different variant, you know? And I'm gonna be real, bro. I don't know if this was a gag comic. All I know is that Deadpool pulled up in this comic, but I loved the idea of Miles Morales having a lightning Venom sword made out of his energy. I thought that was the goofiest but coolest shit ever for Spider-Man. So I'm definitely incorporating that into his ultimate. So for his ult, he would basically just stab the ground with his sword, doing like a big AoE radius of damage. I'd say about 10 meters of radius. Obviously he would have fall off damage, but that's just the maximum width of the radius. He could just slam the ground, do big damage with the sword. But then once he does that, he has sword melee attacks. Not as slow as magic, something way faster. And he would have sword melee attacks for about 8 seconds, I'd say 6 to 8 seconds. And they would do a little bit more damage than his regular melees. So he wouldn't be doing crazy amounts of damage. I thought it would be cool if his little down smash was just a downward swing. Oh, and obviously he would still have the spider sense because he has that, you know, pretty self-explanatory. He would still be able to shoot his webs and stuff. The only difference is he wouldn't have that charge punch combo. He'd have a different combo related with his sword. But this is where you guys come in because I haven't thought about it this far. What should his sword melee combos be when he has, well, the sword out? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, I think that would be a pretty cool concept for Miles Morales. Also, give me suggestions on what other spider people could be added as variants. Right now on my list I have Miguel O'Hara, but I know there's tons of other spiders with like crazy different powers, so let me know. Yes, this even includes Spider-Gwen and Venom Spider-Gwen. Let me know what their powers would be. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe if you watched this far. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate the support. Thank you guys for 5K. Now let's get back into this video. And speaking of spiders, next we have Agent Venom. He wouldn't be that crazy different from regular Venom, but it would still be pretty cool to have him in the game. So instead of these little back tendrils that regular Venom has, he would have shoulder guns similar to Penny, but they do way more damage than this, obviously. He'd be the first tank that's actually kind of capable of long range, and he would be like semi-hit scan, so like a slightly faster bullet than Rocket Raccoon, because as you can see, this is projectile, it's not hit scan, but I mean, it's fast as fuck, it might as well be considered hit scan. He would have the same swing as Venom and the same like round smash as Venom, and he would have the same resilience thing. But to kind of change him up, I thought instead of giving him this little like grab thing, what if he had like a symbiotic grenade made out of his goo or something? It'd be kind of similar to Squirrel Girl, but like way slower, and it doesn't explode on impact. What it would do is if you hit it directly on a character, it sticks to them. It takes like 2 seconds to explode, and when it does, they get slowed down and damaged. But if it misses them, it will roll for a little bit, kind of like Squirrel Girl, and do the same effect but worse damage because there's fall off, of course. Damn. So it would kind of give him an option to be like further range because he already has long range attacks and long range grenades. So it's kind of like a more long range Venom. It might be broken, I'm not gonna lie. I also forgot to mention his guns would shoot in a burst round, sort of like a burst weapon from Moonnight. And also he would have 600 HP. So he would have to be squishier than Venom because there's no other way. He'd be too strong. And now for the ultimate. So instead of going underground like this, what he would do instead is just summon an area around his feet, kind of like Ramatra from Overwatch. And whatever enemies are standing in this little radius beneath his feet are slowed down and slightly damaged over time, like the symbiotes are nibbling at their toes or something. And that damage being dealt to the enemies will be converted into Venom's health. And that effect would only last about 10 to 12 seconds. So kind of like his own personal support ult. So yeah, let me know if you guys would play Agent Venom, because I definitely would, bro. I definitely would. Also a little fun detail, I feel like it'd be cool if his melee attacks included a blade of some sort. Now next we have Red Hulk. Red Hulk would have a passive to where the lower his HP gets, the more damage he would deal with his basic attacks. And his basic attacks would start off like regular Hulks, but the more angry Red Hulk gets, they start leaving a burn damage because the angrier he gets, the hotter he gets. Yo, not like that, not like that. And the burn damage would add up to a maximum of like 20, something small, but still significant because Hulk already does a lot of damage. Plus he has to be at low HP to even get that, so I feel like it's pretty balanced. And if it's not, make it 25. Fuck it. He would have the same jump and stuff, obviously. But here's a little difference that his clap would have. Whenever he claps, it would leave a burn radius on the ground, and whoever gets hit by the initial clap damage or steps into the radius on the ground will just take burn damage over like 2 seconds. The burn damage would only probably be like 30, so it'd be a maximum of 60 damage, plus you'd probably already be getting punched on by Hulk anyway, so it'd be a lot of damage added up. I think he should keep the same type of shield because Hulk is already a pretty risky character to play, especially right now, so keeping the same type of shield would be pretty nice. A little added effect I could give it, whenever his allies get a shield, they just have increased damage for that duration. Let's say like a 10% damage boost for the duration of the shield. And I don't know what I would change the snare to, because I feel like that's unique to Hulk, and I kind of wanted to only be on Hulk to give you a reason to play regular Hulk. So I mean, again guys, let me know what you guys would change this to, because I gotta make the variants unique. Now his ultimate would be crazy. Obviously, the more angry he gets, the hotter he becomes. So when he presses his ult for the first time, you see that little shockwave that was around Hulk's feet? It would be similar to Johnny's supernova. How it just does damage for the first instance. Obviously in this form you get no shields. You can still stun or whatever this ability would be, smack people away, but the burn damage would be crazy in that form, since you could just spam this ability over and over and over. If he leaves fire on the ground versus also being angry enough to leave fire damage on your body, the fire wouldn't stack. It would just extend the duration of how long you're being burnt. Also, one thing I forgot to mention while recording, whenever Red Hulk decides to press his ult again, instead of doing this long slam animation on one enemy, I thought it would be cooler if he kind of just like jumped in the air and then slammed the ground, leaving like a huge mess of fire like this kinda. Also, are you guys seeing this, bro? I'm not tripping. I got it on recording. Y'all saw that. Why did his shockwave go? Why is it going over there? What the hell? That's gotta be a glitch or something. I'm shooting this thing straight forward, bro. Anyways, yeah, that's Red Hulk right there. In a part 2 of this video, I'll probably talk about A-Bomb or like She-Hulk. But yeah, so far, Red Hulk, Agent Venom, Miles Morales. Now here's a bit of a curveball. We have Captain America with Mjolnir. So the character would kind of just be like a straight combination of Captain America in the game and Thor. But I still think it'd be pretty cool because everyone constantly talks about Captain America picking up Mjolnir. So he would still have this run. He'd still have his jump. The only difference is his melee attacks aren't based around his shield anymore. They're only based on the hammer, or they're mainly based on the hammer. So he gets these types of melees. And he would also have the Thor force meter at the bottom. So he no longer has this effect where he can like throw his shield with his basics. The only way he can throw his shield is if he actually, you know, throws it regularly. He can only throw one thing at a time. So he'd be able to throw Mjolnir, but he would have to wait till Mjolnir returns to throw his shield out again. Of course, he can still hold up the shield. I don't know why he wouldn't be able to. The shield would be way weaker. It'd probably be at 300 straight health, because I feel like this man would be so OP if he had Mjolnir. He'd probably be the best tank in the game, I'm not gonna lie. When he does this little slam on the ground, he uses Mjolnir. Pretty self-explanatory. So he'd basically just be a better version of Thor in a way. I don't know, because he wouldn't have these broken animation cancels anymore. He would just have Mjolnir, but he would have a shield with a hammer, bro. He'd be insanely strong. To sum up what he can actually do with Mjolnir, you know, his melee attacks would be this, probably a little bit faster, but like slightly less damage or something. He'd be way squishier than 2099 Cap, because dear god, imagine if they gave Thor a shield. He'd be too strong. So yeah, he can swing the hammer around like this, throw the hammer with Thor force, because it just makes sense. He cannot charge it up to dash like this, and he cannot use the lightning realm, and he definitely cannot fucking pop awakening, bro. Holy shit. He could throw his shield still with the LB or whatever your throw shield button is. He does not get these shield autos anymore. He can still hold up the shield, and he can still run. He can still run, jump, and do the ground pound and block. And now for his ultimate. I was kind of just thinking of combining both Thor and Captain America's ultimate already. So he would hold up his shield, run into battle like this. He wouldn't get like crazy amounts of overshield like he already gets right now. And your allies behind you will not be able to get overshield by standing behind you. It would be a type of ultimate that you have to hit 2 buttons for. You get a better jump. It would be higher than this, way higher than this. When you jump into the air, you press your ultimate again to instantly slam down and do big damage. Pretty self-explanatory, just combining Captain America with Thor. I don't think they'd ever add this one to the game specifically just because we already have Thor and Captain America. It'd kind of be a slap in the face to add Mjolnir Cap, just because like, why would I ever want to play Captain America or Thor when I have this, you know? But yeah, so far, those are the only concepts I've really thought of right now. I have way more in the works, like I said. I got other spider people, I got other Hulks. But one final thing I forgot to mention, for Moon Knight, this wouldn't be a variance thing. It would kind of just be a buff. So we all know how Moon Knight has 3 personalities, not including Khonshu. You got Mark Spector, Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant. Now a little concept I had for him, what if the personalities actually gave you a different stat boost, a random stat boost? I was thinking either at the start of the match, the start of a round, or whenever you respawn. At one of those points, whenever you load in with Moon Knight, you would just have a random buff. It would be a small buff, nothing crazy, that symbolizes what personality you're playing as right now. Let's say every time the round starts and you spawn in as Jake Lockley, you would now have a permanent 10% damage buff for all of your attacks. Now the buff for Steven would be a 5% movement buff, and the buff for Mark would just be 25 extra health added to your base health. So instead of being 250 HP, he would be 275. Bro, I initially wrote 50 base HP. Moon Knight does not need to be 300 HP, bro. What the hell was I smoking? But how would I know what buff I have? Good question, good question. So at the start of this effect, or at the start of a round, a little moon would pop up over your head, or like on your back or something, that flashes a different color. Red would be Jake, Steven would be a white moon, and Mark would be a blue moon. But yeah, I feel like that would be a nice change for Moon Knight. Just a little bonus, because I don't know if there's actual different Moon Knights besides like these three guys. I thought there was. I don't know. You have to correct me, bro. I'm not a huge comic nerd, but I swear I thought there was like a different guy who wasn't like Mark, Steven, or Jake. He didn't have three different personalities. He was like a completely different guy. But yeah, let me know. If there is, what abilities do you think that variant would have? Remember, the rules, they gotta be somewhat similar to their already existing counterpart. It can't just be completely different. Oh, he's a melee character now. Nah, they gotta be at least somewhat similar, but just slightly different abilities. At the end of the day, it is still basically the same character, but a different variant, you know? You see what I'm cooking? You see what I'm cooking? But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Let me know if you guys want to see a part 2. Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Oh my god.